who was the real Ronald Reagan? Was he just the glamorous Gipper of the silver screen, or the political hero he became? In truth, his years in Hollywood were more than just a stage show. They marked his life with unexpected tragedies, from a bitterly broken marriage to a controversial role in the Blacklist era. This is not a tale of glory, but a journey into the heartbreaking secrets and how those quiet acts of power quietly shaped one of the 20th century's most influential figures. Now, those dark corners are slowly coming to light. A broken love and a shattered family. Reagan seemed destined for fame and praise, but few realized that even during his most successful years in Hollywood, his private life was troubled. Stardom couldn't purchase happiness, and the silent breakdown behind the scenes left indelible scars on this man's spirit. Romantic love in Hollywood was highlighted by Ronald Reagan's romance with Jane Wyman. They married in 1940, creating a public-admired golden pair. Behind the joyful photographs was a terrible reality. Reagan also, an actor, began to think more about politics and social concerns, while Wyman was a skilled, ambitious actress focused on her work. Their different personalities and life paths grew unbridgeable. Wyman, pragmatic, cautious, and frigid, sought significant jobs to prove her talent. Reagan was pleasant and approachable, and he became drawn to collective activities, especially in the Screen Actors Guild. Their marriage ended in 1948 after Wyman's Oscar for Johnny Belinda brought her fame. Reagan attended lectures and meetings for Secr's political efforts, but Wyman wanted a husband who focused on his family and his career. The difference in goal and lifestyle drove them apart. Jane Wyman filed for divorce in 1948, citing mental cruelty, a common term for grief and disappointment. Reagan's reputation as a family man was damaged by this. This divorce was more than just the loss of a partnership. It was a lasting concern with personal failure, a stain on his pristine record. He lost his wife and the American dream he represented. He had to face his fear of failure, which he always avoided. Reagan also had trouble with his children from this marriage, Maureen and Michael. Fame, his hectic schedule, and his parents' split caused distance and misunderstandings. Maureen became a political activist and publicly disagreed with her father, showing silent father-child issues. Reagan's inner portrait shows strength and severe personal wounds via these familial tragedies, which are rarely highlighted in official bios. Invisible pressures from the entertainment industry. Beyond personal tragedies, Hollywood was also a fierce arena where the pressure to maintain fame and a career could crush anyone. Ronald Reagan was no exception. Despite his handsome appearance and natural acting ability, his career experienced periods of struggle and instability. After initial success with roles like Newt Rockne All-American, 1940, which earned him the nickname Gipper, Reagan's career gradually stalled. He was often typecast in supporting roles or lead roles in B-movies. The fear of being forgotten was an immense pressure in an industry constantly seeking new faces. Reagan understood that his acting talent had limits, and he needed a different path to maintain relevance and influence. This pressure intensified as he had to contend with the perfect public image that Hollywood demanded. He always had to smile, always be optimistic, always be the Gipper that audiences loved even when his personal life was in turmoil. The conflict between his true self with complex emotions and the role he played for the public created a significant psychological burden. This forced him to become a master at hiding his emotions and maintaining a solid facade. It was during this period, as his acting career began to decline, that Reagan found an outlet and new purpose in political and union activities. He poured his energy into his role as president of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG, where he could use his communication skills, personal charm, and convictions more effectively than on a film set. However, this shift was not without its own pressures. It required him to develop an entirely new set of skills while also facing intense internal conflicts within the union, opening a new, challenging yet powerful chapter in his life. This was the stepping stone that took him from the stage lights into the covert battles of power, where he would have to make even more painful decisions. Role in the Blacklist and difficult choices. As personal tragedies and professional pressures crept into Ronald Reagan's life, Hollywood was simultaneously engulfed in a political storm known as the Red Scare. This was a period when suspicion and fear of communism tore through the entertainment industry, leaving hundreds jobless, their careers and lives shattered. And it was in this chaotic context that Reagan, then president of the Screen Actors Guild SAG, made difficult decisions, leaving a controversial mark and painful secrets that persist to this day. The 1940s and 1950s saw the House Un-American Activities Committee (HUAC) launch intense investigations into communist influence within the film industry. This was not merely a political inquiry, it was a moral crisis for Hollywood, where friends, colleagues, and even family members were forced to choose between denouncing others or facing the blacklist, a death sentence for one's career. An atmosphere of fear prevailed, turning closed-door meetings into informal trials where a person's reputation and future could be destroyed by a single accusation. What is less known and often concealed in stories about Reagan is his role in cooperating with the Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI). Under the codename T-10, Ronald Reagan secretly provided information to the FBI about individuals he suspected of communist ties within the film industry. Declassified FBI files later confirmed that Reagan regularly communicated with agents discussing SAG members and individuals he believed to have communist leanings. The motivation behind these actions is a complex question. Was it his unwavering anti-communist conviction, a belief shaped by personal experience and fear of communist infiltration into labor organizations? Or was it a pragmatic choice to protect his career and position in a volatile political environment where ideological purity was crucial for survival? Whatever the motive, the decision to become an informant placed Reagan in a morally challenging position. He had to face the torment of naming names of colleagues even if he believed he was doing the right thing to protect his country and the industry he cherished. The cost to those he informed on was profoundly tragic. Many actors, writers, and directors were blacklisted, losing their jobs, being ostracized from the industry, and having their lives permanently ruined. Shattered families, broken dreams, all were direct consequences of an era where suspicion reigned supreme. Reagan's role during this period, though he justified it as a patriotic act, remains an indelible stain on his personal history, a secret he and those close to him tried to conceal for decades. Throughout the rest of his life, Reagan rarely spoke publicly about his role in the Blacklist era in detail. When asked, he often evaded or offered general justifications emphasizing the need to protect Hollywood from external threats. However, this silence or these vague explanations only fueled suspicions about hidden regrets or a denial of the extent of his involvement. The choices Reagan made amidst Hollywood's divisiveness and fear not only shaped his staunch anti-communist stance, but also honed his ability to keep secrets and maintain a public image, despite facing difficult truths. It was a costly lesson in the complexities of power and ethics, and an indispensable part of the portrait of Ronald Reagan, a man who not only experienced glory but also carried the burdens of his past. Secret power struggles within SAG. Ronald Reagan was lauded as an excellent leader of the Screen Actors Guild SAG-1, who united the organization and fought for its members' rights. However, beneath the facade of a strong union lay hidden power struggles, invisible pressures, and even brutal decisions that Reagan had to make. This isn't just a story of a simple hero, but of a cold strategist willing to do whatever it took to consolidate his position and control. When Reagan held the SAG presidency, especially during the tense periods of the Cold War and the anti-communist movement, the Guild was far from a unified body. On the contrary, it was torn by deep conflicts between factions staunch anti-communist conservatives, more liberal individuals, and those solely focused on wages and benefits. Reagan's mission was to prevent SAG from disintegrating, but how he did it is a story full of tactics and pressure. He used his rhetorical skills and personal charm to create an image of unity, but in reality, he did not hesitate to employ tough tactics to suppress dissenting voices. Internal meetings were often tense with sharp words and mutual accusations. Reagan, with his experience as an actor and ability to read a crowd, learned to manipulate emotions and shape public opinion within his own organization. This not only showcased his leadership abilities, but also revealed a cold and calculating side little known to the public. To consolidate his power and ensure SAG followed the anti-communist direction he believed was right, Reagan did not hesitate to eliminate political opponents. Many historical documents show that individuals with differing ideologies or suspected communist ties were isolated, stripped of power, or even forced out of the guild. This was achieved through internal procedures, rigged votes, or simply by using personal influence to turn them into outcasts. This process, though justified as purging the guild of reactionary elements, was effectively a form of internal political purge. For those marginalized, it was a painful experience losing not only their positions but also friendships and professional relationships. Reagan, as president, was ultimately responsible for these decisions, and that reveals a facet of his character, someone willing to do tough, even ruthless things to achieve his goals. These experiences forged him into a politician, unafraid to confront and remove obstacles on his path to power. The complexity of Reagan's role also stemmed from the fact that SAG was not entirely autonomous. The guild was constantly under pressure and manipulation from government agencies like the FBI. As mentioned previously, Reagan was an FBI informant, placing him in an extremely sensitive position. He not only had to run SAG, but also balance the interests of its members with demands from national intelligence agencies. This meant that in some cases, Reagan may have been compelled to make decisions not entirely in the best interest of SAG members, but due to pressure from the FBI to control or eliminate individuals deemed security threats. The ghost of the FBI loomed over SAG's closed-door meetings, creating an atmosphere of tension and suspicion where every action could be monitored and analyzed. Reagan, as president, was the bridge between the entertainment world and the national security apparatus, forcing him to make choices whose ethical implications remain controversial to this day. These experiences, from dealing with internal divisions, purging opponents, to navigating pressure from the FBI, transformed Reagan from an actor into a shrewd and calculating politician. He learned how to wield power effectively, and more importantly, how to keep secret his power plays. These were hard-earned lessons and a solid foundation for his tumultuous political career that followed. A legacy of secrets and tragedies. His Hollywood years were not just a launching pad for Ronald Reagan, but also a harsh crucible where personal tragedies and difficult decisions forged him into a complex political figure. When the Gipper left the silver screen to enter the White House, he brought with him not only acting experience, but also invaluable lessons from crisis management, information control, and confronting invisible pressures. It was precisely these secrets and tragedies from his past that shaped his leadership style, creating a distinct and haunting persona. One of the most valuable skills Reagan learned from Hollywood was the art of maintaining a public image despite personal turmoil and accusations. His scandalous divorce from Jane Wyman or his controversial role during the Blacklist era all were major challenges to the reputation of a public figure. However, Reagan showed an extraordinary ability to control the narrative, redirect attention, and maintain an optimistic, unassailable facade. This very experience laid the groundwork for his later moniker, the Teflon President, a leader seemingly immune to all criticism or scandal. Hollywood taught him how to emote, how to deliver messages persuasively, and more importantly, how to create an invisible barrier between his true self and his political persona. He didn't just act on screen. He acted out his life skillfully concealing the cracks and tragedies behind a radiant smile and inspiring stories. This ability was not innate. It was honed through years of facing pressure and silent pain. Ronald Reagan was not just an actor on a stage. He was a master storyteller. And his political stories were not merely dry speeches, but emotional performances built on his acting experience. Hollywood taught him how to connect with an audience emotionally, how to use body language, tone, and pauses to create maximum effect. His personal tragedies and his fight against what he viewed as the communist threat provided him with a wealth of emotions and experiences to weave into powerful political narratives. He used simple, understandable stories to convey complex ideas, often about good versus evil, about us and them. This ability allowed him to establish a strong and compelling narrative, transforming political issues into dramatic plays in which he was the central character. This was a power derived directly from the entertainment industry, a sharp weapon that helped him win the hearts of voters. On the other hand, the secrets and difficult choices from Hollywood also left a negative impact on Reagan, though perhaps not easily discernible. His need to conceal personal struggles, or his role in the Blacklist, may have reinforced a subtle skepticism about absolute trust and honesty. When a person constantly has to hide a part of themselves, they can become more cautious, even distant in deep relationships. This might partly explain how Reagan at times seemed detached from reality or exhibited a blind trust in certain closest confidants. The scars from the past, the betrayals, or the need to make difficult decisions on his own may have led him to develop a defense mechanism where information and image control became paramount more so than raw truth. In summary, Ronald Reagan did not enter politics as a blank slate. He was the culmination of his on-screen roles, his silent power struggles, and his buried personal pains. It was these complex experiences that created a leader with extraordinary communication abilities, yet one who also harbored mysterious layers and indelible marks of an unerasable past. The journey to uncover Ronald Reagan's hidden facets has painted a far more complex portrait than the familiar Gipper image. His personal tragedies, his secret role during the Blacklist era, and the silent power struggles in Hollywood were not just dark corners of his past, but also lessons that shaped his leadership style and how he wielded power later in life. Reagan entered politics not as a perfect icon, but as a man bearing scars and burdens from his past. Understanding these secrets and tragedies helps us view him more comprehensively and deeply, far beyond what history typically recounts. What do you think about these lesser-known aspects of Ronald Reagan? Do they change how you perceive him? If you find this content interesting and want to explore more hidden historical stories, be sure to visit our YouTube channel so you don't miss new videos. Don't miss new videos.